All right, here we go. Here we go. We welcome you to Matters of the Heart right here in Reedville, North Carolina, 116 LaFoy Road, the Kingdom Word Center, where none other than our pastor, Pastor Irvin S. Best. Woo! Yes, yes. And tonight we have a phenomenal show that we're about to experience with four dynamic women of God who are here to tell their stories and being very transparent, as well as reminding us and letting us know as women how we can overcome and we stick together. All right? Woo! So at this time, we're going to ask if our guests can just come on up to the table, and as they're coming, yes. Wow, I am so excited. Yes. All right. So we are getting ready to get started. We are excited to have each and every one of you powerful women of God, and I just want to say thank you so much for being willing to come up on the show to tell your story. You're being very transparent. Little do you know, there are other mothers that are out there that are going through some of the same things that you may be going through as well. We know and we do understand that their stories is basically addiction, but we also know that there are other mothers who may have lost their children besides, or by other ways, right? And so tonight we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started, and we're going to have each one of our ladies introduce themselves, and I'm going to start to my right.
Hi, my name is Michelle Welch. I'm a mother of three. DeQuan is the one we're going to be talking about tonight. I have a middle son, Tyrese, he's 26. I have a daughter that's 24, and I have a grandson that's 12.
Right.
I'm Lydia Anderson, aka Cheryl. I'm married to Steve Anderson. We have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and Candace is my daughter that I'll be talking about tonight.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is LaWanda Martin. I have 2 sons, Tyshawn Martin and Caden Sanders, which is here with us in the audience today. And I'm here to talk about my son, Tyshawn Martin.
And I am Kimberly Daniels Dalton. I am married to Michael Dalton. We have 3 children, Rivian, Jeremy, and Dylan. I have 3 grandchildren, Raylan, Jason, Jazz, and I am here tonight to talk about my daughter, Rivian Daniels.
Thank you. We also have their pictures to show us, as well as they were introducing their children on tonight, so that you will be able to see them. To my left, to my right, we have Daquan, which is the mother, Miss Michelle. Also, go ahead.
Rivian, my daughter's Rivian.
Candace is my daughter.
And Tyshawn.
All right, thank you, ladies, thank you so much. At this time, we are getting ready to get started, and we have our first question is, first of all, you all have a group named Moms. Can you tell us what Moms stand for and how it was originated?
MOMS stands for Moms on a Mission Saving Souls. Our group was put together in June 2024, and the group was started by a vision that I was given from God after we all lost our children. Well, the vision actually came after the death of DeQuan and Tyshawn. And it was then that I went to LaWanda and I told her, I was like, there's something that we need to do, there's something that needs to be done. And God was tugging on my heart for that to be done. Back then, not even knowing that I would lose my daughter next. So, we lost Daquan in 2020, Tashawn in 2021, Rivian in 2022, and Candace in 2022. So how was that connection that God showed me that I have two best friends and a friend that I grew up with and worked with, we all lost our firstborn children. These are the kids that made us moms. So God kept tugging on my heart saying, there's something that you need to do. So I got these three ladies together. I told them what the vision was, and here we are, we put it together. Moms of a Mission, Save and Serve. And our goal is to bring moms together who have lost their children, and it doesn't have to be their firstborn children, any child. And we want to show them support, love, and show them how we help each other through the journey. Because it made us feel good when we all came together. Our first meeting, we came together, we unloaded everything that we had held from everybody, and we cried. And it made me feel so good to sit in a room with somebody who knew exactly how I felt. So that's what Moms is all about.
Thank you, thank you. Anybody else would like to add to that?
I think she summed it up.
I like what she said, that when they came together as moms and they were all able to kind of like release to one another and to be able to shed those tears, because that is the beginning of a healing process when we shed our tears to one another, because that's something hard to try to hold within and not able to release that thing. But now that you're here and you are now ready to talk about this publicly, thank you for sharing with us. Okay, what was life like for you and your family before things started to change? Ms. Cheryl.
Life for us was challenging. Candace dealt with addiction probably since her early 20s. Also, she had a lot of physical conditions. I think the biggest thing was the mental health, and she used the drugs to treat it. So, you know, it masked the pain that she carried her whole life. But it was definitely challenging, dealing with the back and forth, the drugs and the illnesses. It was challenging.
All right, Ms. LaWanda. What was life like for you and your family before things started to change?
Life for us, it was like a mystery. It was trying to figure it out. I noticed a change in Tyshawn, and I reached out for help, and it was very difficult trying to find that help that we needed. And it was hard on Tyshawn also trying to deal with it, because I seen so much in him where he talked about trying to get better. And we started working to try to get him better. But it was very difficult having that task without knowing where to go, not knowing where to look in this world, looking for help in this world instead of outside, asking God. Looking for help outside. It was hard for me to find that help that I needed to get him where he needed to be, where I felt like he needed to be.
And sometimes that can be a hard thing, because a lot of times we don't really want people to know or, you know, get into our business too much oftentimes. Yes, ma'am.
I really didn't have a problem with that, because I wanted my baby to get some help.
Okay.
So
That's
I,
something
as a matter of fact, we had the book club, and that was my first time. I think I introduced it to other people, and I was just asking for prayer, because I felt something in my spirit that something wasn't right with my child. So it wasn't hard. hard for me to ask for help because I saw a need and I wanted for him to get the help that he needed.
Yes. Thank you for that, LaWanda, to be able to hear you say you wanted the help, you needed the help, you know, for somebody, because you knew you couldn't do this alone. And of course, we have God, but other than that, we need other people in our lives to kind of lead us and steer us into the right direction, or if there's anybody, you know, that they can send help to help us. Yes. Michelle?
Well, mine is a little different. Life was normal. I didn't know anything about fentanyl poison until my child passed. I didn't know it was a part of any everyday life. Still don't know if it was a part of everyday life because life was normal. So.
So, were there any changes that?
No changing. He was a full-time worker, full-time dad of 2 days, had his son since 2 days old, coach, part-time DJ, nothing.
Wow. Wow. Cheryl, would you like to respond to that? You already have. Okay. Kim, I know your story is just a little different, but if you want to kind of speak on where you were with the situation with your daughter?
Yes, my story is different because they lost their children to drug overdoses, and I lost my daughter to gun violence. So the difference was, what I saw in my daughter was, if there were any changes, the thing was the mental part of it, because she stayed in a relationship that was not, it wasn't good for her. She knew it, and I think she struggled to walk away from it. So I would say her issues were the mental part of being somewhere where she knew she didn't need to be, and struggling to leave that relationship because what she wanted out of it. She wanted to raise her children with their dad in a home together. But even though that was the reality of what she wanted, she knew she didn't need to be there. So that's the part, I would say that's the difference in her, because even looking back at it, you could tell she was strained. She stayed away from family events. If she came, she left early. And that was just a sign of what she was caught up in.
Wow. Wow, that's good right there. A sign of what she was caught up in, and maybe the isolation from, you know, sometimes they will try to isolate, you know, from your family and whatnot. And sometimes when you feel like there's nothing that you can do except for pray. So yes. Yes. Okay. So tell us about your son or daughter, who he was, she was, and what made him or her special to you. Michelle, can we start with you?
Yes, like I said, my son was a full-time truck driver. He full-time dad, part-time DJ, coach. He was the one who made me mom, you know. 17 years old, unconditional love, you know. He was my first.
And what were some things that you all did together that made it even more special?
We argued. We argued. I remember, baby, he had a son. I was like, no, I'm not keeping him. That's your baby. You want to keep him, and that's what he did. Even the night that he passed, he had a DJ a party. He came to my house and he picked him up at 2 o'clock in the morning because I wasn't keeping the baby, you know. And so, and then the next morning.
Wow. Ooh. Wanda?
Tyshawn, he was a jokester. Tyshawn, he kept a smile on his face and everybody's face around him. Tyshawn had one of the sweetest souls. And his mama fussed, but he never fussed back. He was just humble. He was a very dear, just a very sweet soul, just a joy to have. And, in his last couple of days, about 3 or 4 months, Tyshawn had moved out, cause I guess he wasn't, feeling it, he was going down that road, and he had moved out, and, it got to the point to where he called me one day, he was like, "Mom, can I come back?" I said, "Why did you leave? You had no business leaving, you always welcome home." And, with Tyshawn, it was like, he just had the perfect soul. He was just all joy. He kept his friends laughing, he had no judgment, he loved on everyone, and everyone loved him. And like I said, that smile, he was just a humble child.
Yeah, he was. I can just remember when we were at Beulah, and he was always just so loving and so kind, and always would just, come up and give you a hug. That's just the person who he was, and how I remember him as well. Yes.
Candace was the life of the party. Her whole entire life, she was just so enthusiastic. Candace, she was very mature early. She was very helpful to me with the other 2 children that I was raising. Candace could cook. Candace, if she would, she could really clean. Candace also, she was very lovable. She loved children. She taught herself how to do natural hair. And she was probably the only person that I would ever know of that would drive, besides me, from house to house to do people's hair.
Wow. That's good memories right there. Yes, yes. Okay, so we're gonna continue to move Kim. So what were some special moments?
Riri. My Riri. Put it point blank, she was her mama's daughter. She was everything I was. I used to tell her, looking at her, I was looking at me. God always said you're gonna get one back. That's the point. She was me. But in that, she had the biggest heart. She loved. That's what she was. She loved her children. She loved her mama. She just loved everybody. And even though, just like her mama, we got a tough skin. But on the inside, we love big. And she did what she did. And the fondest memory I have of my daughter is when she was a praise dancer. It makes my heart smile because that's what she loved to do. And she did it so well. So well. And when she did it, she gave it her all. And her dream was to open a dance studio. That's what it was. And that's the fondest memory I have of my babies, is dancing for God.
Wow, that's a great, great memory you'll have right there.
Yes, because if anybody in this room was at her home going, they heard me say, she is dancing in heaven. I know she is.
Yes, yes. All right. Thank you, ladies. So we're gonna continue to move. I think maybe somebody have already answered this, but do you or can you remember how or when drugs first became a part of your child's life? I know you said you just didn't know about that.
Yeah, I can go back to probably Candace in high school is when she probably started trying marijuana. And then, of course, after the marijuana, then it leads to something else, but they're still trying to find that same high. So then she, when she got in her 20s, she started using crack cocaine. Well, not crack. She would say, "Mama, I don't smoke crack." Okay, Candace, but she snorted powder. She said it was different. I said, okay.
But she let you know.
She did.
Wow.
And yes, I just to piggyback on her saying, she let you know. That's one thing about Riri, she was honest. Because when I would speak to her about the relationship she was in, she would tell me, how much she loved him And, you know, people change.
Yes.
And I would ask her, you know, not to go back there. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks before she was killed in that home invasion, I asked her not to go back to that house. And she was honest enough to tell me, I cannot tell you I'm not gonna go back. And that's one thing about her, she was honest.
Wow.
Tashawn, probably started in high school. I would say high school is when he started dibbling in marijuana also. As far as he passed a fentanyl overdose. But one night Tashawn had got sick and I took him to the hospital. And I was like, what's going on? I think I had called my brother. I was like, something's going on with Tashawn, can you please help me? And so when we got over there, we took him to the hospital. And I said, I called the hospital because it was during COVID, so I couldn't go in. So I called the hospital, I said, what is going on? I said, what is going on? Can I speak to the doctor that was over him? So the doctor came to the phone, he's like, I can't tell you what's going on with your child. He said, but I asked you to read his release papers, whatever, release papers. So when I got it, I read it, and it said something about chronic, but it was laced with something. And I told Tashawn, I said, Tashawn, I said, he said, no, Mom, I just smoke weed, I just smoke weed. No, baby. I said, it's something else in there. Oh, Mom, I know who I get it from. Okay. You can't trust who you're getting it from. And so even with that being said, as Tashawn had his friends and I knew that they smoked with him, some of his cousins and stuff, I warned them. Be aware of what you're taking and what you're using because you never know what you're gonna get.
That's good right there. That's really good.
And to piggyback on that, the thing about it is, marijuana is illegal in Virginia. There's just 10 minutes up the road. And now it's getting laced with stuff. So now you got a legal drug with a legal drug and nobody knows what they're getting nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, you know, you're trying, but somebody is putting stuff in stuff that nobody knows that they even get.
Wow.
And the environment also, because Tashawn was, I don't want to really put anybody out there, but just to keep it real, he was dating this young lady from Sandy Ridge at the time. And I didn't approve of it, but it was grown, you know, and there's nothing I could do about it. But Tashawn was, like I said, 25 years old, you make your own choices. So he had a choice. He had a choice, and when he finally let her go, I think he had sort of got into stuff that I wasn't used to, I didn't know of. Because to be honest with you, when it came to drugs, I was very ignorant. I knew about weed, I knew about alcohol, all of that stuff, because I actually grew up where my parents, my dad smoked weed and my mom came from a home of alcoholics. And so I never had that desire, but I didn't understand my son's desire. So it put us in a very, very big limbo because we're arguing. Because I don't want him to do nothing. So, I mean, that may even have pushed him into other directions. I don't know, because he lived with me his whole 25 years. If you're in my household, you're going to church. So, I don't care how high you are, we getting up Sunday morning, we going to church. Because God's gonna take it any kind of way he is. And I'm gonna take you any kind of way you are too. So I couldn't do nothing about it, but I know once I got him in that church, God could do something about it. So I just kept him grounded as much as possible.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all so much. Were there certain influences, friends, environments, trauma that you think played a role with this?
I'll speak on that. I do. I think all of the above played a part in Candace's issues and her addictions. I think that probably from the time that she was very small, her dad was in the home and he used drugs. So you got environment, you got genetics, the friends. I didn't use drugs but the environment, you know, I had friends after he passed, that were in my life, and they also used drugs too. So, yeah, the environment and the genetics had a huge part in campus, and trauma, childhood trauma.
Wow. Anybody else would like to answer to that? I think what you said, the environment, now when we look at the youth and the children, it's their environments and who they are around. And it's almost like they have so much control over our children and over our youth. And it doesn't matter how they have been raised in the home, but we know that there's another whole world out there that has such a great influence on our children. And so how do we battle that? You know, from the world to the home, from the foundation that they've come from. How do we battle that? Yes.
Well, basically, I can speak on that because, you know, I am raising my daughter's 2 children and teaching them that, like you say, you have to be mindful of where they go, who they're around, who they're with. You know, just for an example, the other day, Jace has a friend that comes to his cousin's house from school.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Mima, can I go to his house? No. But he comes to Morgan's house and his mama don't care. I don't care if his mama don't care. You're not going to his house because I don't know his mama.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen her, never met her, any of that. And you know, like I said, the world, they get so much, they show so much, and the world has made everything okay. So you have to teach them everything that's not okay. And like I said, the cell phones, the tablets, you got to monitor what they're looking at, what they're listening to. You know, even to my 10-year-old granddaughter, what she can and cannot put on. You know, yeah, you can walk around the house like this, but you better not go to such and such a house and walk around like that. You know, I have to teach her that. You can't, it's so much, like I said, that the world has made okay.
Yes.
And you never know what you're getting. I mean, these days, the person that look like they all got it together and got everything going on, they be the ones that's after your child. You can't trust nobody.
Absolutely. Nobody.
Nobody.
I like what you said. You got to be very careful when you're releasing your children to go into somebody else's home and you don't know who's coming to visit in the home. You don't know what kind of person they are.
Yes.
I mean, and when we look at a world today, and when we looking at TV every day, and we are seeing all of these predators and all of these folks with these young children, and you know, just getting missing. So we have to be really, really careful who we release our children to. Yes. Were there certain? Let me ask you this: did your child ever talk to you about what they were doing? And why they were using the drugs? Because sometimes we have conversations with our parents sometimes.
When Tashawn sort of went down to the final, I'll say last 2 weeks, we started speaking more about it. And we had got to the point to where I was actually researching and trying to find help. So the closest thing I had gotten to at the time was sending him to Florida. And I was like, he talked about it, and I was like, well, Mama, I can do it on my own if I want to. I can stop smoking if I want to. But it was a struggle, and I saw that struggle. So like I said, I researched, and I started finding avenues that I could hopefully go down and get him some help. So everywhere I went, to me, it was more like a stumbling block. Because why would I ship my son off to Florida at the time, because that was the first people who had actually contacted me. Why would I ship him off not knowing what's gonna go wrong in Florida? I can't get to him if something goes wrong. Don't know if they're gonna take his body parts, anything could have happened to him. So I started talking to local people, and one of my friends, who owns a shop, she had talked to me. And the day that Tashawn passed, I think she spoke with Kim, and she told us that she had found somewhere for him to go.
Yes, exactly. The day that he passed away, when I called her to let her know that he had passed away, she was like, no, Kim, I just found him somewhere to go.
And that was a big disappointment for me. I was already hurting. And the day before, Tyshawn was in a head-on accident. And I questioned God, and I was like, God, why did you, and y'all have to excuse me, but I asked, why did you not take him in? Why did my child have to suffer the way that he did? Why did he have to go the way he did? Then I had to think about it, and it's been plenty of days I sat in my car and I screamed and I cried. Why not? Didn't want him to go at all, but he did. And there's a purpose for it. And that was the main thing. It turned my pain, because I'm telling you, it's pain in losing him. But God has a purpose for it.
Yes.
And I just wanna speak on that. What we all share as moms who've lost our children is the pain. Because when people look at you and they say, you carry it well, maybe I do. But at the end of the day, my pain is just as equal as theirs. Every day when we wake up, there's an ache right here for that child we lost. But the pain that we feel, we have put it into a purpose. That's why we created this group. It's a purpose thing. There's no way it's not a purpose for us, 4 women sitting right here, and I can just say this if it's okay. She lost her son first. When she lost her son, LaWanda and I immediately went to her. We were there. She lost her son second. All 3 of us were immediately there. When I lost my daughter, they immediately came to me. And when she lost Candace, we immediately went to her. And that's why I know without a shadow of a doubt, God gave me a vision for a reason. We're going to help these kids out here. And I don't care how big or how small. If we can only save one child from a fentanyl overdose, from gun violence, because I'm just going to put this in here. I lost my daughter to gun violence. And 5 young men were charged with her murder. And their ages at the time of her murder was 13, 2 15-year-olds, a 16-year-old, and a 21-year-old who drove the car. So this is what the purpose is.
Yes.
This is why there's a purpose in this.
And we thank you. We thank you, ladies, for coming together and to be able to form this group, the moms, because there is somebody out there that needs exactly what you all are facing right now, because until you can walk in these shoes, nobody will ever understand the pain of losing a child. Yes, thank you, thank you. Were there times when you thought that they were getting better and times when you feared the worst? Anybody like to speak on that?
I guess Candace, and I knew of her problem the longest. Yeah, there were times I thought she actually was doing better. I mean, she would stay sober for, the longest I knew that she stayed sober was probably about 2 years. And then hers was always triggered by failed relationships. And then she would just go right back into using drugs again. Honestly, I never feared that she would die the way she did. I feared that it would be because she had end-stage kidney disease and she was on dialysis, and but honestly, I didn't know that she would go from the overdose of cocaine. So,
And just like Kim said, when we all went to Michelle, the morning that I went to Michelle's home, I stopped by where my son was staying, and I told him I just need to put my eyes on him. When they told me what had happened to Point, I just said, I need to put my eyes on you. I need to see you. And so I went to him and I hugged him and I told him I loved him. And what was your question?
It was, were the times when you thought they were getting better and times when you feared the worst?
When he came back home is when I feared the worst. And that's when I went through what I spoke about earlier. But, through it all, like we were saying, the pain and the purpose. Through God, all this is gonna bring us praise.
Yes, yes.
And I see it little by little, because we miss our kids, we miss them dearly. I wouldn't do anything to have him back, but I know even wanting him back, he's better off where he is. Because he's not going through what he had to go through. And with Tyshawn, he was a child who tried to please his mom. So he wouldn't want me to see him struggling in the way he had to go.
So in all actuality, he's healed.
He's healed.
He is healed through all of it. Yes, everyone has known. They are. Yes.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
And drugs is powerful because after my son passed, I have an additional son that tried to go down the same road. He got help.
Thank you, Jesus.
He came home, but it's always something in the back of my mind. Will he do it again? Because when not only does it affect me, it affects my children, my mom, his son, you know. It's rough. That's why we got this, because if we could just save one. We want to save millions, but one. Because nobody should have to go through what we went through.
Yes, yes. Yes.
But it is a ripple effect. It really is.
And just piggybacking off Michelle of how hard it is for siblings, and grief is hard. And when you watching your child who is not healed from grief go through a lot, and as parents, like she said, it stays in the back of your mind that I don't want to lose another child. And 2 weeks ago, I got a call at 2:45 a.m. that my son had flipped his car. And it was just like, I could hear them talking to me, and I was in shock because I was trying to stay calm, because I'm the one that tries to stay calm. But to hear somebody say, we found your son's car, but I don't know where he's at. It was just like, oh no, not again, you know. And I stood in my room, and they kept calling me back, you know, saying they couldn't find him, they didn't know where he was at. And finally, I got the call back that, you know, we found him. He's alive, he's in an ambulance, they're about to take him to the doctor. But it was just like, I was just so, I couldn't even speak. My husband was like, babe, you hadn't even told me what was going on. I couldn't even say it to him. I couldn't even speak it, because I'm like, I cannot do this again. So the effect that it has on your family members, on your other children, and like I said, just to be in that position to lose another child is something that we don't want to do. So we want to help not only, you know, we gotta help our children first. You know, the ones that's still here, I'm gonna do everything in my power to get them where they need to be.
What message do you wish you could give to young people today who may be experimenting
with drugs today? And we can look to the audience, we can look at our cameras, and if you could just talk to that person. What message do you wish you could give to young people today who may be experimenting with drugs today?
Drugs are not your friend. The ones that give it to you are not your friends. Drugs do not discriminate.
I didn't lose my child to drugs, but if I was speaking to a child who may experiment, the experiment, when you say experiment, that's exactly what it is. An experiment is something that you start out, but you don't know how it's gonna end. So if you are experimenting with a drug, put it down. If your friends are experimenting with a drug, like she said, those are not your friends. Because guess what? Just because Johnny did it don't mean you got to do it too. Walk away from it. Find you some new friends. Find you some positive friends. I told my son the other day, if they ain't speaking positive, let them go. Get that negativity out of your life. Life is too short. If you're looking at 4 moms right here, and our kids were popular, so y'all know them. And no, I did not lose her to drugs, but drugs played a part in her death. And I'm not ashamed to say it. It did. The connection is what caused her death. So guess what? Even those you connected to, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, I don't care who it is, walk away from it.
That's good advice right there. Yes. Okay, she summed that up. Okay, awesome. As mothers, so was there ever a time that you started becoming their best friend? Because a lot of times as mothers, at certain ages, we become best friends instead of mothers. I mean, we're still mothering them, but we become their best friend.
No, I was probably the strict mom. Tasha and Katie probably say that, but because I'm not gonna be your friend. I love you too much to be your friend. Nobody's gonna love you like I love you except for God.
Yes.
So no, I'm not gonna be your friend.
Yes.
I'm not gonna be your friend.
I'm not gonna say I was the friend. I'm gonna say I was the cool mom. My kid's friend said she the cool mom, but at the end of the day, they knew I was flipping a minute. So no, I wasn't their friend. You know, I could hee and ha ha and laugh with them. But at the end of the day, I would tell them in a minute, yes, I will still knock you down. And their friends knew that.
Yeah, that was like my kids' friends. I'd be like, your mom is mean. She's mean. You know, they have friends that come to the house now, they like, your mom didn't even speak to me.
Wow.
I was definitely not the friend. And everybody knows that if you ever saw Candace Facebook Live. So no, I was never the friend. I always told her about herself. I just wouldn't, I wasn't giving in that way. I felt like I had obligation to be honest with her and try to lead her in the right direction the best that I could. So I owed it to her to give her the truth versus trying to be her buddy friend.
Yes. Can you say that one more time, Miss Cheryl?
I said I owed it to her, not to be her buddy or friend, but to lead and guide her in the right direction.
Yes.
And be honest with her and tell her the truth.
Yes, thank you, ladies. Awesome. Where, you know, in a shift, did you find yourself shifting from being more of a parent? And I think we just asked that question as you got older. So let's go to the next question. Were there things you chose not to see at the time out of love, fear, or hope that it would all work out?
As I look back today, I still see no signs. I don't see anything that could have stirred me in that direction. Not that my child is better than anybody else's child, because you never know what your children do. They're grown. You know, raise them as necessary. You know, My mom tries to tell me what to do. But it's, no, it's nothing that I seen, because
Yes. All right, LaWanda, do you have anything? Okay. All right, were there conversations you avoided because you did not want to push them away?
I can speak on that. There was some conversation I did not have with her because I didn't want to push her too hard. And I kind of fight with myself sometimes. I was straight up with her, and then I said things to her, but I just, sometimes I used to just ask myself, maybe if you would have said this to her, she wouldn't have stayed there, you know. So yes, there was some things that, you know, I just didn't go all the way there. I went there, but I didn't go all the way there.
Okay. All right, thank you, ladies. Have you forgiven yourself for the things you didn't know or could not change? Sometimes we think about that.
I think, I have forgiven myself. Every now and then things, you know, triggers can happen. And then it'll kind of take me back a little bit. But I just thank God for my spiritual life that I have here at KWC, the sisterhood that I have developed here at KWC, the book club, all of that has kept me going in the right direction. Because definitely forgiving myself, I wouldn't be able to sit here today if I didn't forgive myself.
Yes.
I think forgiveness is a big part of what you have to do in order to even begin to heal. Because, like LaWanda said, in the beginning, there's so many questions. And you know, and I'm just gonna give a shout out to the audience member that on the day I lost my daughter, she told me it's okay. Ask all the questions you need.
Yes.
Ask God whatever you need to.
Yes.
Ask Him, right,
Yes.
Pam Long? So yes, I did, and a lot of those questions He answered.
Yes.
And I would tell any mother who has lost a child to continue to ask Him questions. Continue to go to Him in prayer, ask Him questions, and He will begin to show you just the little things to answer your questions.
Yes.
You know, like, why did this happen? Well, you know, my question was, why didn't she listen to me? That was the biggest question. She had me, she had family, my sisters, her first cousins, her best friends, everybody trying to get her to just leave this relationship. And my biggest question was, why didn't she leave? Wow. And I got my answers. You know, He will. And you have to just begin to forgive yourself for even being mad.
Yes. Yes. Everybody? Okay, we're gonna go to the next question. Do you feel that being in this space now, sharing your story, is part of your healing and maybe doing things differently moving forward? Because I heard you all say that you have children, other children, so how would you do things moving forward? As opposed to now sharing your story, being a healing part.
Moving forward with Caden Sanders. That's a battle, but he's a good child. So, I had to actually learn how to talk to Caden. I probably gave Caden one of the hardest times dealing with Tashawn's death. And he fought back. He was nothing like Tasha. So he would always question everything I say, everything I do. And I was like, come on, Caden. And it was more of me really I hadn't forgiven Tashawn at the time. So I was fighting with Caden about Tashawn's issues. And it was hard, and I had to sit back and I had to look and I had to start praying to God and telling Him, God, move me different. Because He doesn't deserve it. Because He's been my rock from day one. And I just had to learn to talk to him different. And as soon as I learned to talk to him different, he started moving different. He prays for me. He does a lot. I can go in the house and I be like, "Hey, pray for me." He'll grab me and say, "Pray." He's looking like, "Is that enough?"
Let's give a shout out to Caden who's with us in the today. Yes, a shout out to you, Mr. Caden. Keep up the great work. Yes. All right, anybody else would like to share that?
I'm just gonna say that, you know, you just have to stay consistent with what you say, how you feel. I'm just gonna say what I say. You know, in the words of the young people today, I will keep my foot on JD and Dilla's neck at all times. So when they feel like they're gonna crash out, mama's coming. And I'm just gonna let them know, you know, we ain't going there. I mean, we're going through something right now. But at the end of the day, my son, no, we're not gonna do this. You have got to stay on them.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I get tired of hearing mama please. But what they don't understand is we don't want to go through this again.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want to go through this. You don't want nobody else to go through this.
Yes.
It's hard. It's hard. And then I think I'm hard on the two I have at home because you just do not want it to happen. You don't. And then I put a whole lot on my son because, you know, he thinks that he has to be the man. You know, he has to take care of mom. He has to take care of his sister. He has to take care of his son. That's a lot for a teenager that really don't have. Just pray for Tyrese.
And if I can say this one thing, us, and especially, I'm just gonna keep it real, to the black people, African American, however you identify, remember, mental is real.
Yes.
And it's okay. Because I have been in therapy since March of 2022. My grandkids have been in therapy since March of 2022, and we're not gonna lay it down.
Right.
Because that therapy has helped me. Without her, I don't know where I would go or where I would be. Because therapy allows me to release so much that I can't tell them. I can't tell my husband. Can't tell my sister. But I can talk to my therapist and I can tell her anything. And she tells me how to do it. And I'm trying to, you know, I'm pushing my son, get it. Get you some therapy. It's a relief.
Yes, yes. Therapy is one of the, yes, that's it right there. Therapy is one of the best healing processes that you can ever go through. Because so often we have always been taught as African Americans that you hold these things, you don't go and you don't tell anything. What goes on in the house stays in the house. And that's where a lot of our mental state comes in, and that's what keeps us in bondage a lot. And so I've learned even through that I've gone through therapy, through some things in life. But when you release things to a stranger that does not know you and cannot tell anybody else what's going on in your life, when they will allow you to come in, you can curse, you can throw pillows, you can do whatever you need to do. And we think that's funny, but this is the things that we need in life where people will allow us to come out and to release things where nobody else really understands. And so I'm grateful for therapy. I am so grateful for
I can call her
therapy.
at any time.
Yes.
Call me at any time.
Yes, yes. So if you haven't had therapy and you feel like you need therapy, listen, get the help that you need. You got somebody here who knows somebody that you can go to. I know somebody that you can go to right in Greensboro, North Carolina, Net Funderburg in Greensboro, great therapist, Christian therapy, and all of that. So no, you're sitting here looking at a leader. You're sitting here looking at a pastor's wife.
You're sitting here looking at somebody who goes through things. A lot of times we can look at somebody and we think we all have it together. But if I can be a little transparent with all of these other mothers, I'm a mother. And I need therapy because I remember when I went through therapy and my children, I did not want them to see me going through that. And that's what you call those generational things, that it passes on down because we don't want to get the help that we need. We're stubborn, we're prideful women of God. Oh, I can handle this. Sometimes you can't handle what you think you can handle.
And just shout out your therapist, I'm gonna shout out mine. New Era in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, owned by Brandon Lovin.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right, we're gonna keep it moving and almost wrap it up here. And we may come back for a part 2, simply because we're coming back for a part 2, okay? Yes, we will be. So we're gonna go ahead and close with these questions. How can mothers come together to support one another through pain like this?
I would say, that's what Moms is about. We have scheduled our first event, which is on March the 17th, May the 17th, 2025. And we sent out invitations to some moms that we know that have lost their children. And the event is for healing. We're asking them to come. You don't have to speak. You don't have to talk about the loss of your child. You don't have to say anything. But we want to just bring women together to share our journey of coming together and healing together. And like I said before, being able to, look this woman in the eye and say, she knows exactly how I feel. Because one thing we've always said, our losses, each loss is different. It's different. The way we lost them is different. The way they passed away is different. Even in the difference, if I can go into that just for a little bit, the difference is, I told them, each one of them had a moment with their child, and they passed away. She was able to be in the room with her son. She was able to be in the room with her daughter. She was able to be with her son. I lost my child. I didn't see her for 10 days. So I never got that moment to be with her, because on the day she died, they wouldn't let me near the house. So everything different, but at the end of the day, it's all the same.
It's all the same.
The pain is all the same. And the purpose is even bigger.
Yes. I'm gonna close with one more question, and you all could answer this. What would you like to say to another mother who is currently watching her child struggle with the addiction?
Well, mine is the addiction of love. So to the mother watching your daughter or your son addicted to a person that you know does not do them well, don't stop. Never give up on telling them to walk away.
Word of wisdom.
I would say addiction is the symptom of pain. If you have an addiction, it goes deeper. Get the help that you need. There are so many resources available, so many counselors. They've named a couple. There are so many. Don't wait. Act on it as soon as you notice that your child may be using. And definitely pray and make sure that you have a close relationship with God.
And I was just gonna piggyback off Cheryl and say, act on it, move. If you see your child and they're not responding or acting the way they used to, and you seeing a difference in your child, go to that child or go find help as soon as possible if there's any help for them. Don't leave them out there. Never let go of your child. Continue to love on them and just be the best mom that you can be for that child and just try to get them help.
Like I said, it is addiction after addiction because it hit my household, you know, so just get them to get the help that they need. And if they need it again, get it again. Just never ever lay your hands off of them, never. Just keep going and keep going and keep going.
Yes. Thank you. I would just like to say before we close, I can remember it was some years ago, and we were in the salon, and we had a talk show called Mondays with Moms, and the title was The Journey of a Single Mother. And I remember that just as plain as day, with their children and what they did and, you know, how you handled that journey. But I was thinking about coming back, and now the two of you have lost the children. But God, there's pain, there's purpose, even in all of this. And even back then, God already knew what was going to be taking place on this day. So he already had a plan for each and every one of you. And my prayer is that you continue to go out and just share your stories with other mothers, and realizing that there's a pain, purpose in your pain and what God is calling you to do. So I just say continue to go out, be transparent, draw other mothers in, children saving one at a time, and everything. So again, thank you all so much for your stories and for your transparency. Can we give God a hand praise? Yes. Awesome. Listen, let's just stand and let's just say it again. We are so thankful for each and every one of you for coming out on tonight and hearing these awesome young ladies and their stories. And so we're getting ready to close out, and we're getting ready to tell God thank you. And we pray that God will continue to cover these women of God as they continue to go out and speak their truths to every woman that is available. Again, good night. Thank you. Thank you so much. We enjoyed you. We'll see you in 2 weeks right here at the Kingdom Word Center, Matters of the Heart. One heart, one story, one voice. Right here at 116 McCoy